Hello, everyone. Welcome. We're going to get started in just a couple minutes. While we're waiting to get started, if you want to say hello in the chat box, let us know where you're joining us from. Hello and welcome, everyone. We're going to get started in just a minute. We're saying hello in the chat box right now. Okay, we're going to go ahead and get started. Just a reminder, all attendees are in listen-only mode. This webinar is being recorded, and a link to the recording and slides will be made available. Good afternoon or good morning, depending where you are. Welcome to our webinar, Reimagining Summer School Lessons from Cadence Learning. My name is Leslie Gabay-Swanston. I'm the Director of Program and Systems Quality at the National Summer Learning Association. As we're going along, if you have any questions for our presenters, please put those into the Q&A box. I'll also be monitoring the chat box, but if you would like your question asked and answered live, please put it into the Q&A box. And actually, we're a pretty small group, so if you want to raise your hand at any time, I can take you off of mute. So before we begin, we'll just share a little bit about NSLA. The National Summer Learning Association is the only national nonprofit exclusively focused on addressing the achievement and opportunity gaps by increasing access to summer learning opportunities. NSLA's goal is to increase nationwide the number of high-quality summer learning programs. To achieve this goal, NSLA recognizes and disseminates what works, offers expertise and support for programs and communities, and advocates for summer learning as a solution for equity and excellence in education. NSLA's work is driven by the belief that all children and youth deserve high-quality summer learning experiences that will help them succeed in college, career, and life. Core to our work is the recognition that high-quality summer learning programs work and have been shown to improve reading and math skills, school attachment, motivation, and relationships with adults and peers. So I want to just quickly give some broad distinctions between summer school and summer learning. When we think of summer school, we think of remedial education that academic focus, drill and skill. We also think of programs that are based in school buildings, based at the district level, and often are engaging are punitive to students. Summer school may be mandatory for some students and is adult driven. It could also feel like a traditional school day. When we think of summer learning, what we mean by summer learning is a focus on new and accelerated learning. We think of project-based hands-on learning that can take place in a variety of settings like libraries or museums or really any organization and community. We encourage programs to plan exciting and engaging programs that everyone wants to take part in. Summer learning programs should be voluntary and open to all and have a strong emphasis on student voice and choice and identity. And of course, we want them to have a unique site climate and culture and have more of a camp-like feel. So that's what we think of when we talk about summer learning. With that, I want to turn things over to our guests at Cadence Learning to share what they are doing.
Excellent. Thank you, Leslie. Good afternoon. We have folks from Pittsburgh, New York, Baltimore, Texas, Mississippi, Cleveland. We are so excited that you decided to join us this afternoon to learn more about our summer program. We appreciate you taking the time to hear about what we have to offer students across the country. I'm going to kick it off and turn it over to my co-presenter, Stephen Wilson, just shortly. But again, we will send a copy of this recording as well as supporting materials following the webinar, but really want to have an engaging opportunity. So please put your questions in the Q&A and/or raise your hand, and we'll definitely answer them real time. So just to kick it off and who we are and what we do, the founders of Cadence have a long history in public and charter school sector, again, with a huge commitment to serving under-resourced communities in cities like Brooklyn, New York, Newark, New Jersey. And on this webinar with me, I have one of our founders of Cadence Learning, Stephen Wilson, who is the CEO of a highly successful charter network in New York City. And essentially, they came together last summer on a shared mission and history of providing a high quality education option and have really refined the program for this summer. And so I'm going to give you a quick snapshot of who we are and what we do. We essentially serve students in grades 3 through 8, which is rising 4th and 9th graders. It is set up as a 5-week program with a 4-day teacher institute immediately preceding the 5-week program to go deep into pedagogy and curriculum and strategies. It is really designed to providing academic recovery, not in the remedial sense of instruction like I do, you do, we do, but really a program of academic acceleration for all students that's discourse rich, it's culturally relevant, and really engaging. And core to our belief is that students who are behind really need access to at grade level or above grade level instruction. And so our program is built around 2 classes, an ELA and 2 classes in math. Each is about 45 minutes a day, depending on when the school opts to deliver it into their schedule. There's lots of flexibility around that. And so what happens is your local teacher would partner with our mentor teachers. We have worked really hard to recruit and find mentor teachers across the country who have a proven track record of success in serving our students, who are passionate about teaching, and we partner them with your local teacher to deliver a really high daily instruction. We also have daily enrichment activities that are available that Stephen will talk more about. And the program is really flexible in how you choose to deliver it. Just a little bit about us last year. You know, it was launched in the middle of when a lot of things were unknown, and they were really successful and able to identify 50 clients across the country, 500 partner teachers, and we almost served about 12,000 students. We are super duper excited to have 50 partners already in the pipeline for this summer, almost 20,000 students getting ready to be served. And so really, really excited to make sure that students in this summer have access to high quality, engaging instruction. And so essentially the responsibilities. What we provide is the program. We provide the curriculum, the materials, all of the teacher training, which includes, again, the 4-day institute, as well as twice weekly professional development for 45 minutes. We identify the mentor teacher who partners with your local teacher. And again, you'll hear more about the daily videos and the resources, resource rich, that we're trying to make an easy lift for your local schools. Your responsibility on a local level is to essentially recruit and stipend the partner teacher who will be in the classroom. Again, the curriculum is designed to be rather virtual, in-person, or a hybrid model. You'll hear a little bit more about that. But you recruit and stipend the local teacher, you enroll the students, you run the summer program with a summer principal, and making sure that they attend the training and possibly offer enrichment activities, again, based off of the local interests. And so again, we know that across the country, we're hearing it, some folks are just getting back to in-person now, navigating hybrid, virtual, in-person. We've really designed this program to be easy, ready to go, to remove all the heavy lifting of figuring out what to teach this summer. And so actually school leaders could focus on the beginning of the school year come the fall. So again, we'll give you all the materials, video lessons for each and every class. There's professional development. We think that's our secret sauce. There's mentor teachers that provide extra office hours for your local teachers if they're having any questions. And we also just, again, the comprehensive approach is to make sure that we give you a family flyer, an invitation letter, enrollment forms. We really, really want to make this as easy as possible for students to access, parents to access, and most importantly, for our teachers to be able to deliver. And so we have a choice of 2 sessions. You can opt into session 1 or to session 2. The dates you see here, again, before session 1, there's a 4-day Teacher Institute, which starts June 14th through June 17th, with students starting on June 21st and running through July 23rd. Session 2, Teacher Institute runs from July 6th through the 9th. Students start on July 12th and end on August 12th. And at this point, I'm going to turn it over to Stephen to talk more about the nuts and bolts of our program. Thank you.
Thank you, Michelle, and thank you, Leslie, for inviting us to have this wonderful opportunity to describe our work and our program and see if it might be of an interest to you. We're very grateful for that and for your time today. So the essence of the model, as Michelle has conveyed, is the idea of accelerating learning. So we have this magnificent opportunity this summer to make up some lost ground, both in terms of academics and social and emotional learning. And so that is really what we're all about. It's about high expectations, super engaging teaching that is presenting grade level or above grade material, believe it or not, especially for students who might be behind. The mistake in the past is, as we've all heard, as Leslie, I think, quite correctly set out, is kind of drill and kill gap filling instruction for students who are behind. Well, those students actually need the most exciting and most engaging instruction, not the least. And so our teaching is all designed to be about student voice, about discourse, about sparring with ideas and with texts and with other students' ideas in the classroom. So it looks nothing like what people often think of as conventional teaching. And it is based around culturally responsive texts and problems. And as I said, it is very much based in discourse. So we'll see how that works in a moment. But this is nestled within a larger whole. So we assume that our partners, and by that we mean the summer programs that are working with us across the country, will place this within the larger context of a summer learning program that has all kinds of wonderful enrichments and other activities for kids, and hopefully is offered in person, circumstances permitting. So our program, as Michelle said, is designed to be implemented equally in person, virtually, or in a hybrid format. And it works just as well in terms of how you use the materials either way. And it is one that fosters community and connection and well-being, all essential in this moment in this country. So what we find from our partners is that they report incredible levels of student growth. So here is a teacher from a school in California who teaches the 6th grade, reporting that her students made 3 times the targeted gain, and that this was true in a classroom that is primarily English learners. And it applied to kids across the spectrum of performance, not just the high kids, but all 3 categories of students. And that's what we are hearing everywhere. So as Michelle said, what's unique about this design is the role of the mentor. So the mentor are award-winning teachers who have been chosen from around the country because of their extraordinary results in terms of student achievement, but also because they're really engaging and exciting teachers to have in front of kids. And these mentors then work closely with your staff, your teachers or your staff who are functioning as teachers through the course of the 5-week program. We say 5 weeks. If your program is not to be 5 weeks, but it's supposed to be 3 weeks or 4 weeks, know that you have that flexibility. More on that in a moment. And these teachers, these mentor teachers, are not superiors. They're not evaluating anybody. They're not observing anybody, but they're really just peers who have gone ahead of the rest of the pack, delivered that lesson already, and are reporting back what worked and what didn't work and preparing your teachers for exceptional success. And as I said, they come from around the country, from all kinds of different settings, but what they have in common is this extraordinary level of engagement. So you can deliver, as Michelle said, up to 4 classes each day. You might choose just to do 1, 2, 3, or 4. It really doesn't matter. That's up to you. So in math, we have 2 offerings, what we call math stories. This is the cornerstone class. It could be 45 minutes to an hour. And it is wrestling with a real world mathematical problem every day. And every day, your kids come with their own skills as young mathematicians to solve that problem their own way. And then in the discourse section, which is most of the lesson, they compare and contrast how each of their solutions worked. And in the process of that, as you can imagine, the beauty of math is revealed, and this deep conceptual understanding, which is what we all prize, is built. So it's not just about being able to regurgitate a formula that you don't understand why it works. It's being able to understand why math works. And in the Math Foundations is a complementary class that focuses on the so-called power standards, the essential skills that your children need to succeed in the next grade and not fall behind. So these 2 classes can be offered together or just start with math stories. And then in the ELA side, we build everything around an incredibly engaging novel. So there's 1 novel that is studied over the course of the 5-week program. It's chosen to be exceptionally interesting, culturally relevant, and capable of sustaining an almost limitless discussion of ideas. You pick a novel that has those deep themes residing in it, and then you have students sparring with each other over ideas, developing intellectual confidence, sharing their voice and ideas. And I liked how Leslie talked at the beginning about school attachment. Alienation from schooling, disaffection is a huge problem. And what we have found with this program is that it brings kids back in to loving school and loving learning because the methods are so different from what they normally see. I should mention that that second class, close reading, is about reading nonfiction text that is chosen to build the domain knowledge to be able to really access at a higher level the themes and ideas of that novel. So those are the two core programs. And this year, we're really excited to announce our 3 core novels for the summer. And in grades 3 and 4, it's Root Magic by Eden Royce. This is a terrifically engaging book, which we're excited to share. In grades 5 and 6, it's by the same author. The Whole Story of a Half a Girl is by the same author as the book that we used last year, which kids really couldn't put down. And we had so many reports of families saying, my child was so upset that we come to the end of the novel the last day of summer school. That is exactly what we are going for. And then in 7 and 8, we have Long Way Down by Jason Reynolds. Many of you may be familiar with his writings. It's really an electrifying, as this caption says, novel. It's actually written in verse, so it's demanding and yet incredibly engaging. So how do we make this actually work? Well, twice a week, your staff, your teachers teaching the program come together with their peers all around the country, teaching that very same grade and subject. So one for ELA, one for math, and join in preparing for what's coming next in class. So this is what we call intellectual preparation. It is the driver of incredible teaching success. If teachers come to class, not just with kind of a fleeting sense of what they might be teaching, but really having gone deep together, unpacking the material, unpacking that poem, doing the hard work themselves, then they come to class on fire because they know the material, but because they're also passionate about the material. And that what makes for great teaching is passion. And so that is then combined with student work analysis. That's the other focus of these twice weekly 1-hour PDs that are live, is that we actually look together at what your students are actually producing. You know, you can't say it enough. We may say we've taught it, but that doesn't mean kids understand it. But if we look at student production, then we're really making progress. We see what the misconceptions are, and we're prepared to fix them. And so we provide everything to be able to teach every day. We provide the unit plans and scope and sequence, which you see here. We provide the daily lesson plan. So this is not like, you know, going to the internet the night before and Googling, trying to find a lesson to use in class. That's what happens by necessity so often. Teachers are incredibly overworked. And we provide instead everything for them to be able to knock it out of the park. So the lesson plan is not scripted. It's not telling, you know, say this here, say this then, but it is providing everything in one place to be able to deliver a great lesson: vocabulary, reading questions, discussion and writing prompts, everything right there. And in ELA, for example, it would provide what does that exemplary response to a particular question look like, so that you can teach with the end firmly in mind. And I'm just going to fix my share here because I want to be able to have you see this, and I forgot to turn this on, so forgive me. So you'll get a good sense of that here. So the lesson plans are then accompanied by videos. So the mentor teacher actually records this very lesson in front of real kids. And your teachers can either use that recording to prepare to deliver that lesson themselves. There's nothing like sitting in the back of the class of the best teacher in the building. Well, that's what it's like. You're seeing someone deliver this lesson beautifully and you're inspired by that. And then you're inclined to copy that teacher's moves and skills into your own teaching. And so you get an actual recording.
Welcome back for day 1 of our actual new novel. It's called Out of the Dust. When I open this up, like, it's literally just poems on the page. One of the things you asked me about was life in the 1920s. And we talked about how, like, in a lot of ways, America was a really, really kind of split country. And this is the world we go into in this novel. Beginning August 1920. As the summer wheat came ripe, So did I. Born at home on the kitchen floor. Like, Mateo, that's the part that always gets me is it's like, wait, your daddy doesn't really love you that much because you're a girl? And he wanted to have a boy? That seems so crazy to me.
I would feel sad because that makes me think, oh, I'm not enough.
I've been restless. Why? What does she want? Why does she want to leave? Why would she want to? Why? Hey, I'm going to tell you something right now that I want you to remember. Poems are always full of feeling. Tiny words, but big feelings here. Always it's like that. Okay? Let's go back to it for a second. There's these little Welcome back.
So that gives you a little bit of a sense how it works. And then you got the flow decks. Now the flow decks give you the actual student-facing slides that the teacher used in the actual class, in his own class, that you can then use in front of kids. But it also gives you that intellectual prep part. So all that background, like if you look here in the lower slide here, what you see is an exemplar response to a question so that you have that in front of you and you can be aiming for that particular outcome with your students. And then you also have the student-facing materials, the assessments, everything is built in and available, and you can use as much of it or as little of it as you want. So quickly, we had this evaluated by independent academics at Harvard and University of Virginia, and you see some of the findings on the right side here, which is that not only that students improve their academic skills, but they gained confidence. So they're ready to go back to school with a new appreciation for learning and their own abilities in school. The respondents also repeatedly mentioned the rigor, the cultural relevance, and the ability of the materials to generate excitement. So when asked if they would recommend the program to a friend on a 10-point scale, 92% of participating families gave it a 9 or a 10. We were just absolutely thrilled about that. And that was delivered virtually, which it doesn't have to be this summer. And teachers also felt like they just grew in this. They became stronger. And that's one of the most important aspects of what we do is building teacher capacity. So you see some of the results here. You know, I'm particularly excited to see the reflections on working with a mentor. 87% said that they enjoyed working in the sustained way with their mentor. So Michelle mentioned the Teacher Institute that precedes this. This is not essential, but it is exceptional PD for your teachers so that they could come into the beginning of the program really ready to go. And you can see what happens during these 4 days. And this is at no additional cost. This is just something that is part of our program. We're a nonprofit, by the way, philanthropically funded. So most of the cost is provided by our national education funders. But you go deep into understanding the different academic components, unpacking lessons, doing a dress rehearsal, knowing the material in the first few lessons, so you're really ready to hit the deck running. And then we have these twice weekly PDs that I mentioned that your teachers can attend and unpack the material that they're about to teach so they come to class confident and on fire. And you can build this out at really low cost because let's say you wanted to reach in a larger program, let's say you wanted to reach 300 kids in grades 3 through 8. Well, you could see that you'd only need to have 2 teachers in each grade, one focused on English language arts and one focused on math. These could be professional educators, but they could also be paraprofessionals. They could be Teach for America core members. They could be City Year folks. They could be anyone who has a commitment to education and some exposure to it. We wouldn't recommend people who have no educator background at all, but aspiring educators and professional educators are going to have incredible results with this program. And this could also be much smaller. You could have one section of kids each day, and then you can build up the day you want. You could have a couple of hours of academic instruction in the morning with breaks in between, followed by enrichment activities, recreation, project learning, and other things wrapped around it. Or you could have more academics in the morning or however you want to devise the schedule. So the class schedule, the day schedule is entirely up to you. The part of it that is more fixed is this idea, as Michelle said, of sessions. We want everybody to be on day 3 of the program at the same time, on lesson 3, because that's what allows us to go deep into the academic, into the teacher preparation portion of it that's so critical to success. So that's why we've set up those 2 sessions. And if neither of those sessions fits your schedule, well, we can work with you on that to make it work for you. And then we're also thrilled to offer a collaborator for pre-K through 2 literacy. If you want to extend down in the grades, this is the solution. Springboard is a nationally recognized nonprofit that is entirely focused on literacy development. And the secret sauce here is the very close involvement with family, recognizing that family are the first teachers of kids. And so Springboard works in the home as much as in the classroom. And there is personalized real-time coaching for educators and for families. And you'll see some really remarkable gains at a time that you would be expecting to see summer losses. Springboard, in fact, achieved a significant learning gain for participants. So I think I will stop there and we'll turn it over to questions and discussion.
Thank you so much, Stephen and Michelle. So now, if you have any questions for Stephen or for Michelle, now would be the time. If you want to put those into the Q&A box, we can see them there. Or if you see at the bottom, or it might be at the top of your screen, little raised hand symbol, you can click on that and I can unmute you if you just want to ask a question out loud. While we're waiting to see if anybody has any questions, Stephen, can you talk, as a founder, can you talk a little bit about your philosophy and the thought behind creating Cadence?
Yes, absolutely. So it all arose because as Michelle said, we started Cadence when we saw schools and districts struggling to respond to the pandemic, and when families were increasingly alarmed about learning losses and the long-term educational, emotional, social, and economic impacts on their children. And so what we saw was that a lot of schools were proposing to do either just sending home work packets or getting kids online onto online learning programs. And we just felt that that was absolutely not going to work. Kids need a live connection with a loving, caring adult who knows them. And they need live instruction and not recorded or computerized instruction. And so that's what we set out to do, to ensure that all of the districts and schools and summer providers that were working with us would be able to give families live, engaging teaching every day. And that's the origin. And the people that joined our team are all people who have had incredible successes in doing this, who have achieved extraordinary levels of student proficiency, college attendance, college graduation, really just giving kids access to incredible opportunity when often they were denied that. So that's the driving philosophy. And nothing advances a sense of belonging, a sense of self-worth, a sense of opportunity, a sense of agency than academic success, than actually feeling good at it. And that's the experience we want to have. We want kids to have every day in the program, to experience that kind of success.
And so what will the next steps for Cadence Learning be?
Well, we're really excited to go down in the grades to the primary grades of K through 2 and up into 9 through 12. We know the need is just as great there. This year, we're really privileged to work with Springboard in K through 2. So it's a solution in ELA, but not yet in math. And high school, look, it's as big a problem. We've seen so many districts have told us about high school students just not even coming to class, not coming to school anymore. So we know that we have to help schools and districts, and we've been invited to do just that, craft incredibly engaging high school courses that get kids back into school and experiencing academic success, recovering credits, getting ready for career and college. And we're really excited to turn to that next. I see that there's, let's say, a question, how are you tracking students' academic success? I love this question. We're a real believer in doing that. You know, if we don't measure what we're driving for, how do we know we're succeeding? So we want to have an element of assessment, but it's the summer, and we don't want kids to be testing a lot. We don't want kids' first experience of summer learning to be taking a test. So we've tried to get that balance just right. So when kids come back fairly early on, there will be one period only. That's 45 minutes or an hour of testing in ELA and one in math. So we can get that baseline measure. And then we repeat that at the end of the 5-week program. Again, just one period. And from that, we're then able to have those pre and post-test assessments that allow us to look at gains. And so you'll be able to see an individual report for your own kids on the academic gains that they made in the course of the program. It will also report on the aggregate results of students across all of our participating summer programs, and everybody be able to see that. And you might say, well, you can't get much done in 5 weeks. Well, actually, you can get a lot done in 5 weeks. If you do good teaching every day, kids really move, and they move really fast. And that's what we saw last summer in our evaluation that I mentioned earlier. And so these assessments are not multiple choice. They're open response questions. They look a lot like what you would see on a Common Core kind of assessment. So they're measuring the same kinds of deep thinking skills, critical thinking skills that are really important. And so that's what we measure.
So then if you have any questions, feel free to raise your hand, and I can take you off mute, or you can put it into the Q&A box. So we have a question here. How are you marketing the program?
Well, a lot of it is word of mouth. We're, as I said, we're a nonprofit. We don't have a sales team or anything like that. It's teachers and principals and nonprofit organizations that used the program last year, loved it, talked about the enthusiasm of their families for it, their kids for it, and in turn lead us to other organizations that want something with these same kind of results for their own students. So a tremendous amount of it is word of mouth. So for example, we had Tulsa Public Schools, which is a really well-run district, that heard about the program from others and then decided to use it all year long in their school year, and now have come to us and said, please, let's develop a high school program together, which we're really thrilled to do and honored to do. So a lot of it is like that. Michelle, do you want to add to that about the dissemination?
Sure. We've definitely reached out to a lot of charter networks, state associations, policy organizations. We've done a lot of kind of like blast emails to, as Stephen said, our previous partners. We think our best advocates are those who experienced us from before. So we've asked for referrals and the like, lots of different state associations trying to getting on like web lists and web services. We've done weekly webinars every Thursday at 3 p.m. for the last 4 weeks, and we'll continue to do so every Thursday, 3 p.m. Eastern in May, and just really driving folks to come to the 30-minute webinar and with follow-up and asking them to pay it forward, share it. Again, as Stephen said, it's a small but mighty team. We are a small nonprofit, and so we really have just built upon the success of our current partners and sharing their experience with us last year and just continuing to build momentum from that.
So if people are interested in working with you, what is the first step? How do they get started?
Excellent. So after this webinar, we'll send obviously the PowerPoint presentation. They can schedule a one-on-one call to if they have more specific questions and want to figure out how to customize the program to fit their needs. And if it's a go and everything you've heard here is something that you'd like to participate, we'll send you a letter of intent, which is it's a non-binding letter of intent. It just says, hey, we're really interested. Here's how many students we'd like to opt into session 1, session 2. Let's schedule a follow-up to make sure that this is a right partner for our schools and our families. So yes, you can fill out the letter of intent. You can email us at info@cadencelearn.org, or you can schedule a follow-up 30-minute call if you have specific questions related to your school and school community. And we're also happy to, if you have a school or school team that's interested, we're also happy to do this presentation for another school team if you need to get more buy-in from school leaders or partners or the like. And so again, a follow-up request, and we'll do our very best to meet your needs.
Great. I think those were all the questions that we had right now. So I wanted to thank Stephen and Michelle for their presentation and for sharing with us. And I just want to wrap up with a couple of, or actually, do you have any last things that you wanted to share?
I just want to say thank you from across the country. We really appreciate you taking the time. We know you're all really, really, really busy. And so if you like what you heard, pay it forward. If it may not work for you, we just ask that you spread the word. We're really appreciative and humble that you took the time to meet with us today.
Thank you so much.
Great, thank you. So I just want to wrap up by saying, if we're having more webinars in our Voices of Summer webinar series, the next webinars coming up are on summer youth employment best practices on May 19th. And we're having a joint webinar with Attendance Works called Engage, using summer to connect with students and families on May 26th. And if you aren't following us already on social media, that's the best place to hear announcements about new webinars and new resources and events at Summer Learning on Twitter and at Smarter Summers on Facebook. You can sign up for our newsletter on our website. There you can also join special cohorts of peers interested in topics like sports, arts, or youth employment. You can also find out about consultation support and technical assistance for your summer program. Thank you again for joining us today. And like I said, we'll be emailing you a link to the recording of this webinar and the slides. Thanks again and have a great day.